egotistical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for our penultimate edition of the Monday Night Roundtables, covering episodes of season 49 of Saturday Night Live. My name is Jon from the SNN. Very excited to be back with you to talk about Mother's return to SNL. That would be Maya Rudolph with musical guest Vampire Weekend. We are, of course, here as a presentation of LateNighter.com, and we are here on this Monday Night Live with some great guests and some awesome people with us in the chat. So first up, let me bring in my man, Sean Grant. Sean, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, John. Thanks for having me back. I enjoyed the episode. Can't wait to talk all about it. Happy belated Mother's Day. I don't know if that's how that works, but yeah, I did want to. You can say that. Is that
why not?
Why not? Why not? And guys, if my voice is messed up, it's because I was yelling. I was at a basketball game yesterday for the Netflix is a Joke Festival with Marshawn Lynch. Was my coach. I was the captain of the ass team because I wasn't good at basketball, so he called us the ass team.
What was the other team called?
We had like good players on our team, so okay. I came off the bench because I was ass, and it was me, Felipe Esparza, Pink Fox. We were not very good at basketball, but he's a very funny guy. I will say, Marshawn Lynch hasn't been on SNL, has he?
No, we've had Keen play Marshawn Lynch on SNL.
Oh, before. Okay. Well, that's a shame. He's a very funny guy at some point, and it was a good game. Like, they had really good comedians on theirs, but on their team, they beat us by 1 point. But he said something. He did something very funny at one point. He put like 9 people. He kept subbing people in, without illegally. He said, I want to see how many people I can get on the court without them noticing. And there was 9 of us at one point, and we were so bad that we couldn't score, even with 9 people on the floor against 5. He was like, there was 9 of you MNFers out there, and nobody could score a point. He was very funny. I just thought that was super funny.
Yeah, that's right.
He had no reason to do it except that he thought it was funny to him. Like, it was crazy. There was a crowd. Yes. Anyway, that's why my voice sucks.
Was he eating Skittles? I think that was his thing back in the day.
Oh, yeah, right before. But he wasn't eating them yesterday. I think he's probably just trying to stay in shape. It's probably easy to burn them off when you're playing football.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, I'm happy to have you here, Sean. Sean will be joining us for the show tonight and getting to talk and hear his thoughts on Maya Rudolph. And our next guest coming on in is the great Jack Roskopp. Jack, how are you? Oh, Jack, you're muted, so let's take that over one more time. Jack, how are you?
Hello, hi, sorry. Doing great. Happy to be here to talk about Mother herself, Maya Rudolph. This episode was it was everything. It was so fun. So stupid.
Great. Yes. Yeah, we love that. We love stupidity on SNL, and that's always fun to talk about. So can't wait to get into it. We'll talk about Maya Rudolph in just a second, and we'll do that with, last but not least, the wonderful Kirstin Rajala. Kirstin, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great. And when I got the message that I was going to be able to talk about Mother, I was so excited. I think I squealed and I stopped myself from texting all of you multiple times to tell you how excited I was. So yes, I was here for it. I have been traveling for work and I got home Sunday and the very first thing I did was queue it up and watch it. And it made me very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I mean, I'm always happy to see Maya Rudolph come back to the show. She was a favorite of mine. When she was a cast member on the show, I was so disappointed when she left the show, and really was, blessed to get to cover her season 46 episode. She's returned many times since then, and then to have her come back here for Mother's Day, it really felt like great synergy. We really got to break down Maya Rudolph and her legacy at the show when she was on our cast countdown that we did over the last during the summer of 2023 and throughout the fall as we continue that. And you guys ranked Maya Rudolph at 14 overall. That was the listeners who put her at 14 on their list of cast members throughout the history of the show. I had her a little bit lower at 24, but to me, like a top 30 cast member of all time. I think she's had major contributions to the show. Really, as a Black woman on the show, change the guard. Like, somebody who, that demographic, there were moments throughout the history of the show, but Maya sort of, was able to drive the show in a way that I think that demographic wasn't able to in the past. I think she's had impactful moments that people for generations remember, and people ultimately look up to Maya, and that is why she is mother, I guess. So happy to have her on the show again. And Sean, I would love to know from you, what is your experience with Maya Rudolph as a cast member and as someone to come back to the show this time? Were you excited to have her back on the show?
Absolutely, man. And even more excited very recently because I saw her live at the Groundlings. They did a 50th anniversary, like a month of 50th anniversary things, and she played with the black version, with Gary Anthony Williams and that cast. And so to see her in that little theater up close, it was just it just gave off everything she gives off in the show. Just she has a grace and elegance about her, but she's willing to get silly for the sketch, which is so fun. And I think even reading Keenan's, I never had her very high on my all-time list, but definitely now, just probably top 20 just because of my bias for when you get to know somebody and their story a little more. Her relationship with Keenan as a mother, right? Like, it was cool to see them work together on a lot of these sketches this week. Because reading his book, she was very influential in early integration into the cast. He wasn't getting many sketches and was nervous about it, which is crazy to think of now. But she was very helpful in getting him on like the Good Time sketch and certain sketches that were very, integral in his growth there. And it's really cool that she's considered mother. I didn't know that. I don't know if that's a thing before the sketch, but with her whole mother story, her being with Minnie Riperton being her mom, and I guess she died early in Maya's life, right? So that's so cool that she's now mother, not having had a mother like early in her life. That's so cool, man. Like, to go full circle that way. What an amazing story. Yeah, so I can't wait to talk about her sketches.
Yeah, Jack, are we doing this right? Are we explaining how Maya's mother right?
I mean, she's mother in the sense of.
Oh, is that a different type of way of saying? Oh, I'm so
no,
sorry.
no, you're correct. You're correct. But she's just mother in the sense of like, goddess, woman, hero. You know what I mean? Like, all around great human being, I guess. Yes.
Oh, so that's not necessarily like a mother figure, or
I mean, yes, it's both, right? It's
both.
both.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
my bad, man. I'm old. Yeah. I'm old. I don't know.
We need like this weekend's been a lot of like slang for dummies. But Jack, I mean, I would love to know from you. I mean, obviously you've been a big fan of Saturday Night Live for a long time. What's your experience with Maya Rudolph on the show, and how did you feel about her coming back to host for her third time?
I've always said that, like, Maya, Kirstin, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Rachel Dratch, those are kind of like my pillars in Saturday Night Live. And like, for me, she's like top 10 cast member of all time. And probably just because I gravitate more towards the women on the cast in Saturday Night Live, just because I was a little gay boy watching it. And, they were just like so funny to me because they were just these women who were just so crazy, and I just like wanted to be them, right? So yeah, when like Maya got the call, or when we found out, I'm pretty sure I texted Amanda Mitchell, who's been on the show, like, mother is hosting, and then
no way,
like, that happened. I can't confirm that that's what I said, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is what I said. But I mean, yeah, she's just the best. She is funny in everything she does. I was actually kind of hoping she was going to be hosting when she popped up in the Kate McKinnon episode later this season, and I was just so tickled that she came back. And I mean, she just creates these great characters, and I feel like she's also like a really great collaborator. Like, when I think of some of the things that she's done stuff with Fred Armisen, she's done stuff with Kristen Wiig, she's done stuff with Amy Poehler, so she's just really like a team player in the cast, and was just very formative for me growing up watching Saturday Night Live. I just was obsessed with her, and still am obsessed with her.
I would agree. I think if you were to really poll all of the cast members that she's worked with about like who are the best scene partners, I think that she would be near the top of the list. Yeah. She's done great work with whether it's Amy or Rachel Dratch. Really, like, I find that she is a great as a duo. Like, there's some people, like Kirstin is probably one of the greatest drivers of sketches in the history of the show, but Maya might be one of the greatest passengers ever. And the fact that she can elevate from the passenger seat, I think, is something that is really interesting to go back and evaluate. And when we met her in May of 2000, when she joined the show, I thought that, she really made an impact on me as far as how silly, she could be, her ability to sing in sketches. There's something about her. And I think that like Fred Armisen is a really good comparison. Let's looking at like a man on the cast as well, in terms of like, they both just like never take things too seriously. Like, I think that some SNL cast members have that problem at times where like they just can't let loose, but that's never been Maya's problem.
I mean, the way that you can just like talk in a funny accent and not break and just be so goofy and silly, I think is a testament to like what you just said.
Kirstin, what is your experience with Maya Rudolph?
I'll elevate her even further. I say that she's probably not even just a passenger, but I see her alongside a Will Ferrell, where they really can carry the sketch on their shoulders because of their commitment and their fearlessness to it, and that ability to be silly and lose all ego and humility, have humility, and the rubber faces and the silly accents, and whether they're dressed as someone, a sexy Price is Right girl versus like an elderly person. There are a lot of people who are on the show who can't or don't want to look unattractive at times or look silly, and she is probably why they write so many fart jokes for her, because she'll just lean right into it, pardon the pun. And I think it's what we all love about her, is that she seems like someone you want to hang out with. It seems like someone you want to be friends with. It's evident to all of us, as we've just said, that people really seemed to have enjoyed really working with her and having her as a scene partner. And I think she is even more so than just a passenger. She's someone who absolutely can carry a whole sketch just by nature of how she commits so readily and so in depth to it. And I love too that the women that we all grew up, or a lot of us grew up watching on this show, are now are like 50 years old. They're in their early 50s and they look friggin' amazing. And when you think back to the fact that it took till season 31 for a female cast member to come back as a host, it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I'm going to swear. Do you mind if I swear a bunch? I'm getting heated on this. That is way too fucking long.
Yeah.
Who was it that said women aren't funny? Fuck that guy.
Well,
Fuck
I
him.
I will say, not defending anything, Kirsten, but I will say with a caveat that Gilda Radner, I believe, was supposed to host, and then there was a strike. So, like, yes, but not enough of a sample size for sure to do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jan Hooks was brought back as a special guest many times. There was definitely no reason why she couldn't have hosted.
How dare you, John?
But
Are you
that's the whole
apologizing?
point.
Are you apologizing for men right now, John?
Oh my God.
I'm not, but I just want to lay it all out.
Are you a misogynist?
But the point is that she was a special guest. That was like their little olive branch, right? So that's the whole problem. So anyways, to see women like we've had Kirstin come back, and Maya and Kate and all of these people, women who are now 40s, 50s, hell fucking yeah. And they look amazing. They look incredible. They're funny as heck. And it's just really exciting that we see another example of someone who's only getting better and better with time. I'm obviously a huge fan. I'll stop gushing.
No, I love it. This is great. And I do totally agree with your point. I will say that I think that Maya can lead a sketch and has been good leading sketches. I do think she really does shine though when she has somebody to work off of, which is why the cut sketch that we got this week, the TT and Mario, that was a sketch from 20 years ago that didn't make the show this week, but it was on YouTube. And like that's the thing. It's like I love seeing her get to play off one other person and then really going. I think that's why Martin Short and Maya Rudolph really worked well as a duo for a little bit. So that's the type of thing where Maya, I think, is really moldable. Like you can really get what you need from her, and that's a great quality. And I'd have to imagine like she's a producer's favorite as well. Like whenever she's around and in the building, people would love to put her in their sketches. So this was her third time hosting the show. She came back in 2012 in an episode that I think most people feel is a classic episode. That's February of 2012. She then came back in season 46 in the COVID year, which I think, given the circumstances of that year, is hard to judge her on. So this, episode itself, I think is a really good, indicator of like what is the legacy of Maya Rudolph post SNL cast career, because yes, she is older, but she clearly still has what you need to host the show and be a big part of it. And I felt like from this episode overall, she elevated bad material and she made good material great. And that's something that I would ask for from a host. And I felt like this was more of a host episode than a writer episode, in that what I saw throughout the episode were sketches with very similar themes, all direct to camera. And it was produced in a very weird way. And some of the best moments that we ended up getting were simply just from Maya bringing that energy to the show. Sean, for you, when you were watching the show, did you notice how this episode consistently had public service announcements and things like that were like, all the sketches felt very similar? And it was a little odd to me.
Yeah, noticing, the teacher one and the nurse one were very similar in that effect. And it's, Maya, and I love that. I think Kirstin mentioned Will Ferrell. They're both groundlings, and a lot of games that highlight what the groundlings do best are games like Town Hall, or certain things that are just straight, like you present a character. So Town Hall is, there's different people in the town that have either they're for or against something, and they stand up and they give their character traits through their point of view. And that seems to be kind of how you'd be highlighted. If you were good at that type of thing in this show, then you could, express it well, because that's Maya's sensitivity and contribution to comedy through her Groundlings training. So it's cool to watch that as somebody that went through the improv portion of Groundlings. I could recognize, these things are highlighting character, not so much game. Not very strong game in the sketches, like you said, not writers strong, because writers love pattern and game and escalating, and there's very little bit of that, but we keep kind of the same fart joke and escalate a little bit, but really it's about this this crazy lady and how much we can escalate her character traits throughout the process of the sketch. So anyway, my bad for stepping on people's sketches.
I love what you're saying. It's good to get to hear your perspective on it. I think what I want to do is, for this part of the conversation, is I want to pivot into talking about the monologue a little bit. And what I'll do I'll do that by saying that, to continue my earlier point, I mean, we got a cold open this week, which we'll touch on, which was the Mother's Day cold open. That was really cast members and their moms talking direct to camera. Then later on, you get the teacher PSA, the nurse appreciation, even the lawn care sketch. Those were all sketches where you're staring directly at the camera. Hot Ones is a sketch where two people are basically looking at each other the whole time. So when you look for things that feel a little bit different and special in this episode, naturally you're going to come away with this monologue that she did, which I think has to be one of the better monologues from the season. It's like a musical monologue. Maya's obviously one of the best musical cast members ever. And let me play you a couple things as we start to build up towards this musical monologue, where Bowen's going to come out and explain that. Can you guys hear that sound clip? Is it working for you guys? No. All right, I'm going to fix my sound clips, but basically comes out and says, your mother, and gets into the whole thing where we start to see the cast members come out. We get lots of different references as well. So Jack, what were your thoughts on the monologue that we got overall?
It like cured my depression. It was everything. And I had a dog issue this weekend. And so I was in a little bit of a slump, and it really did boost my spirits, the whole entire thing. But I love monologues where the host walks around Studio 8H. I don't know why, but even when I was a kid, I loved those. And it kind of reminded me of like the gay queer version of back in like the 90s. I want to say Steve Martin hosted and did a monologue where he sang and walked through the studio. And it kind of was like a gayer version of that.
It was Not Gonna Phone It In Tonight.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Now I can remember. Yeah. It's coming back to me now. Yeah. So it instantly reminded me of that. But I mean, it was, obviously she's using a lot of internet lingo of, I'm gagged and yes, queen and all those kind of things. But it was done so in a way that felt like it was earnest, and not like it was trying to actually like make fun of the way that some people talk like this. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. And then just like everyone was just so committed to like having fun. It was so silly. I loved all the references to, old SNL sketches. That was really great. If you've been a lifelong fan, you caught those. But it was so much fun. It put a smile on my face. How could it not,
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about those references in a second. I'm going to try my sound clips again, but this is what Keenan called her.
Mother of the house of Rockefeller.
Okay, yes, we got it. Okay, sound clips are working. So yeah, mother of the house of Rockefeller, as she begins to go around the stage. And you said it, Jack. I mean, this is really interesting. She goes and she starts, making old references, and I love that. Like last time she hosted, my favorite thing that she did was the Maya-ing, and we had it was the Shining parody where we had what it was like to live in the SNL studios and who was there, and Dratch in the bathtub and all that stuff. Gilly was there, and I love that she did something like this. So first up, we get this part.
Who coined sweater weather? And you get a call made of leather.
So, that you get sweater weather, obviously, from Bronx Beat. You get a car made of leather. That's her Oprah character. She references classic characters from the 70s.
This place gave you cone heads. It's 11:30. Go to bed.
Which I thought was really cute. And then I think this was the coolest part. So if you listen to some of these references here, she's going to talk about all the greatest mothers in SNL history, all the characters here. So here we go.
Baba Wawa, Debbie D, Sweeney Sisters, and Gilly. Martha Stewart gave good hair. Mary Catherine Gallagher. Shreddy Balls and Donatella. Lisa from Temecula.
So we go through all the decades. We get, Gilda Radner references, Anna Gasteyer in there, Molly Shannon, Ego Odom even. It was just so cool that she did that, incorporated that. So it's she really connected herself to the other great women of SNL. And Kirstin, I just thought this was a wonderful monologue.
Well, great segue off what I was talking about earlier. Yes, let's celebrate those amazing female-led sketches and characters. I was so excited when I saw this because it has been a while since we have seen something so theatrical and different. It feels like we've seen people perform and sing and such, and I can't think that anyone's been not good, but this all of a sudden, I love being surprised by it. And it felt like that backstage tour, but a little different because often I'm really focused on backstage, but I was very focused on her this time as she kind of led this procession. They had different dancers that really fit, that dialed it up. The mother of the house of Rockefeller that's got to be a thing. They've got to put a shirt like that in the merch store. They have to. I will buy it.
I agree. I mean, they're definitely missing an opportunity in the merch store to not put more sketch references or even jerseys of every single cast member. I think would be something that would go really well.
I agree.
Yeah, so missed opportunity there, but I've been advocating for that for a while. But yeah, I love this. It honestly reminded me a little bit of when Coldplay was performing and they went backstage and stuff like that. It felt like a musical performance more than your traditional monologue that ends up being musical. I thought this was great, Sean. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, look, guys, I don't mean to offend anybody right now. It's one of those things this is an offensive word to some. You guys are nerds, okay? You guys know a lot about SNL history. So I didn't, I've just gotten to the show when it was my a certain point of my life. I didn't know all the references. Similar to Kendrick Lamar song. I don't know everything he was talking about. People you got to listen to it 5 times because he's a genius. And I'm like, you're a nerd. You know too much about Drake and rap and stuff like that. So I don't know a lot about a lot of things, So thank you guys for explaining, nerd-splaining a lot of the extra references.
Well, Sean, are sports journalists sports nerds?
Yeah, I'm a nerd. Look,
all right, then I'll take it.
I know 2 or 3. I know a lot about, overall comedy and boxing. That's it. I know 2 things. But
Sure.
God bless you guys. I know a little bit of SNL from the time that I got into it. So it's really cool to have it explained. And I'm glad you brought up the mother cold opening because, I know Mama Longfellow watches, and I've known Mama Longfellow is fine for a long time. She looked good. Mike, you know how I feel about your mama, man. And you talk about it in your comedy, your mama's bad, but Marcelo's mama is something else too. Woo! I'm sorry. That was really, that was low. That was low and very base man stuff that I'm doing right now. But yeah, man, I just had to say something. All the moms are funny. It was fun to watch people tell jokes that don't probably normally tell jokes. I'd have a heart attack watching my mom try to tell a joke. But man, I'd have a heart attack looking at Mike and Marcelo's mama, because they are fine as hell. Sorry, I had to say something.
I love you, Sean. But speaking of the cold open, let's dive into it. Let's talk about what we saw in this cold open. So as we mentioned on the Hot Take Show, it seems like every 3 years they go back to bringing in all of the mothers. And, you know, it was fun to see all these different types of cast members and, you know, people from different backgrounds come on in and get to bond with each other. And I thought there were some really nice moments throughout this cold open that we had this week. So we abandoned you know, Trump and Stormy Daniels stuff. Instead, we're going to try and see how funny are each of these moms. And I picked out a few that I thought were really good here. For me, I thought Chloe Feynman's mom was fantastic in this sketch. Sorry, Sean, I don't know if she did it for you, but I thought she did it for me. With
Tom Brady's marriage finished so quickly. I thought it was your dad.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was a good one as well. I think Mikey's mom was great and Bowen's mom was fantastic as well. So here's the Mikey piece that I thought was really good.
That Beavis and Butthead sketch. Everyone knows me as Butthead's mom.
Butthead's mom. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cute as well. I do wonder if we're going to get Beavis and Butthead next week or something. Maybe not the sketch, but the characters, a la David Pumpkins, to like bring them back for the finale of the season. So that could be cool. But really, the moment that summed up all this cold open, and then we'll go to our panel to get their thoughts on it. I thought that Bowen's mom was fantastic and really great as she summed up why the moment was so special to have everybody's moms together.
We are from all over the country, from every side of the political spectrum. But we have one thing in common. We love our children with all our heart.
And I thought that was so sweet and such a nice way to like tie this all in a bow together, which was like, yeah, okay, we expect to see the moms, but like particularly in season 49 of Saturday Night Live, where you see that like there is an initiative to bring more diversity onto the cast. I thought that was such a nice message from Bowen's mom and like really cool to see like where we're at with the show and like what types of cast members we can get to know, what types of comedy we can see on the show, and how everyone's families from all over the world, no matter where you're from, are supporting them. And the show really is no longer a show for a certain type of person, but SNL could be something for everybody. So Jack, I thought this was a great opening to the show.
Yeah, it was super cute. And I love whenever they do this. It's just sort of like it's like just like a nice little break from, like you said, from we were probably going to get something with Trump and Stormy Daniels and Kristi Noem shooting her dog or something. And it was just great to have this little Mother's Day thing. I thought Molly Carney's mom was really funny.
Yeah.
The bald cap, that was a good laugh. And also Sarah Schneider's mom, I really loved too. And then sort of the prophecy happening later on during Weekend Update was really cute. So yeah, I'm always down for changing it up. And Bowen's mom, just like, how can you not love that?
Yeah, Kirstin, as a mom yourself, how did this speak to you?
It was really sweet. And I like that the moms, especially Bowen's, had something to say that was substantive. It wasn't just like the jokes are great, but at times they might wave and they're like, Sean, as you say, like moms aren't talking and they don't have lines that much. And, it's a quick joke. So it's really nice to have for Bowen's mom to have a real wonderful sentiment to share. And I think what's unique about this type of thing too is you look at them in the context of them as a child, as opposed to the comedians and actors and performers that we see. And so it's very intimate that way in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like it was some of the strongest writing of the night. I enjoyed the show because it was reflective of Maya's strengths, but that cold open, because what Bowen's mom said after that was a callback to an earlier, what seemed like a non sequitur Tom Brady joke, but it was such a cool thing to thread the thing together. I have a Tom Brady joke too that buttons the whole. That's really, to me, strong writing, because it seemed the game was random little inferences about the person, about their child, but then two random Tom Brady jokes come together to make it like a well-written piece. So I thought it was the best writing of the night, in my opinion.
I agree. I thought it was really strong that what they did here, and it wasn't just showing them off person to person. They really made the threads connect. So great way to open the show. Sean, I'd love to hear about the sketch that you want us to talk about even more. Hopefully it's not more about Marcelo and Michael Longfellow's moms.
Ooh, I know. Oh, I'm sorry, Mama Longfellow. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. But no, I definitely want to talk about somebody else's mama, Blue Ivy's mama. Talk about Beyonce, the Hot One sketch.
Yeah.
Man. Thank you for the. So, should I just jump right into it, John?
Let's do it. Make your
Let's
pitch.
do it, man. Well, look, man, I enjoyed the sketch. I think it was, and actually I do want to get an opinion from Jack because this thought kind of was permeated. First, obviously the sketch was Beyonce on Hot Ones getting more progressively uncomfortable with the hotness of the wing, as could be expected. But what made the sketch pop was Maya's willingness, like you said, Kirstin, to get rubber faced and silly. And then the silly, references to can she take her bones out and stuff like that was so fun. So it was and Beyonce as a person is also indicative of like what I think of Maya's grace just as a regular person, to see that, that character or that the person who is Beyonce get silly. You never get to see that in public or in any type of public space unless Maya's playing her. So it was cool to just see that juxtaposition. And but I noticed Keenan's character. I don't think it was similar to his first to the monologue character, but I know back when I started comedy, that would be considered like playing a flamboyant character. It's not necessarily indicative of your sexuality. But back when I started, you'd say, oh, somebody's playing a certain type of sexuality when they do a voice like that. Is that offensive now? Is that something that's weird? Or I don't mean to take the show in this direction, but the thought came to my head, like, is that like doing a black voice or something like that? Jack, would you characterize something like that? Flamboyancy.
Yeah, I don't want to be like the speaker.
Like you don't speak for everybody. I'm
for all
sorry.
queer people.
I speak for all black people here. I'm
even
John.
Though,
Black
yeah,
friend
even though maybe
calls
I
me
think I am.
black
I'm all
stuff.
Jewish people. Yeah.
Yeah, you people all Jewish people.
But I don't know. I feel like Keenan's been doing it forever, and like for some reason, maybe he does get a pass because he's just so funny. But I've never been offended by. I mean, obviously, like in the monologue, he was sort of playing like a Law Roach type-esque person, and then he was sort of playing a flamboyant assistant in this thing. But I think it's like when it's funny, it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? And I just thought that Keenan is like plays that character so well, and so I didn't even think about it until just now.
Sorry, I made you think about it.
Oh, it's okay.
No, actually, Sean, I appreciate that you asked the question, because like the truth is like I don't think Jack represents all gay people. I don't think you represent all black people, but I do think that's what's really nice about like our cross section of SNL fans is like there are really different types of fans of the show, and sometimes when it comes to comedy, things are really sensitive, and it's nice to just be able to sit around as friends, and that's what I try and do and build the atmosphere here on the show, is to just sit around as friends and be like, yeah, like how does this comedy play? Like maybe it like it maybe will affect somebody differently than how the four of us feel about it each as individuals, but it is great that we can have these conversations. So Jack, I'll go back to you on this, your thoughts on the Hot Ones sketch. This was the second time we saw it, so it is sort of like a complete reprise of what happened the last time that Maya Rudolph was hosting the show, with Mikey Day playing the same host of Hot Ones. So your thoughts on how this sketch compared to the first time and how it worked now?
I gotta be honest, I was kind of surprised that they started the show. Well, that they even did Hot Ones again. It kind of felt like a one and done sketch, because I don't know like where else it can go, right? Just because it's like you're eating hot food and it's funny because you're freaking out, right? So I was kind of surprised that they revisited it. I understand that like Beyonce had a new album out and it's a character that Maya is famous for doing. But I was a little like, I was just surprised that they were doing that. I did like the sketch, but it was very similar to the first one. I actually like went back earlier today and watched the first one, which obviously was like super, super popular. And it was sort of when Hot Ones was sort of becoming a little bit more well-known into the culture. Now I think most people know what Hot Ones is, but it was fine. It wasn't what I wanted as my first sketch out with Maya Rudolph hosting. I was kind of surprised that they did it, but it was, regardless, it was funny just because of the antics that they did, right? And I also think that Mikey Day's Sean Evans impression is like low key really, really good.
It is very good. I would say that,
Very
having
underrated.
seen, yeah, I agree. I think having seen the first sketch, the beats of the second sketch are not as funny
Yeah.
for me personally. Just knowing like the paint by numbers that's going to happen here. However, I do think that the lines that they wrote for Maya were really strong this time. I think that like they did find creative ways to make it feel a little bit different. So, we start off with something a little bit more benign where she's like,
Is it possible to take someone's bones out their body, replace them with bones that are on fire?
so just asking some questions like, okay, it's getting worse and worse. And then what I really like about this sketch is the blocking of this sketch. And I'm not like a big Hot Ones watcher like of the real show in general, but I'm not sure if they ever just like show Sean Evans on his own at some points without showing both of the people across the table. But I like in the blocking of the sketch that they cut away. So they build like a little bit of anticipation with the audience of like, oh no, like what is about to happen to Maya's Beyonce next? And we get this moment, which I thought was really funny. These two back-to-back moments.
Beyonce about to do something very human. So I need you to blur my face in 3, 2, 1.
And of course, she's like going to go on to burp, and then this here, which I thought this line just continue. I'm a 2-year-old, but this line really makes me laugh.
Oh, they trying to make a bitch cock on herself.
See, I think just like nobody could pull that off the way that Maya does. Kirstin, your thoughts on Hot Ones?
Agree with so much of what has been said. I wasn't what I expected out of the gate. And yes, it was a reprise, but the way they set up the reprise was brilliant. That Beyonce had to come back because it was one thing she hadn't slayed. So she had to come back and slay this thing. And that felt very on brand. That tracked for what I imagine Beyonce as someone who holds herself up to a really high standard and generally is great at everything she does. It would have kept her up at night that she didn't do her best on this damn show. So I was in because of that. That got me. Otherwise, it would have felt like, oh, here we go. We're trotting something else again. But there was a real reason for it that I thought was quite brilliant. And I loved the stupid lotion in the mouth and all the details around how it was $6,000 lotion and she was just going to waste it all. And I don't know how she maintained that close up with the lotion, which was it Yop? I don't know what it was. That was what I was picturing.
What's
and
Yop?
Yop is like liquid yogurt. Those like kids drinks.
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah. There's probably different in the States. What is it? Like Go-Gurt?
Yoplait?
Stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's gross. Kids, you see it in the kids aisle.
Okay. Different than WAP.
Go-Gurt?
Yes.
Go-Gurt? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah,
of?
like liquid stuff. Anyways.
Sure, yeah.
Keenan almost broke as he was squirting that yogurt. It was so funny. And she just kept going into it, which again, like, she can get away with that and then turn right back to camera and continue with her lines. And I fault SNL sometimes for the way they end things, but I liked how they ended this one with the Men in Black eraser thing, which again felt very Beyonce, like, this rumor that she has pictures erased from the internet she doesn't like she calls some president of the internet to make it happen. So the fact that she actually might have access to this Men in Black technology to erase anything that you've seen, heard, or witnessed was pretty funny.
Yeah. I felt like she was like tonguing. I don't know if that's the right verb, but she was like tonguing out the yogurt.
Like lapping it up.
Yeah, like she was like doing something with her mouth to like get it out, so it wasn't like building up in her mouth.
Yes, yeah, because that was gross.
And I love that Kirstin made the point, because I guess her whole, I never thought about it this way, but like the thing that made Beyonce make a country album, somebody told me, was she got a weird or a tepid reception at some like a country event or something like that. She went to an event and the country music genre didn't know her. So she said, well, just for that, let me make a country. And also as a not an FU, but something, I guess she has a thing with Taylor Swift, who I guess started in the country music genre or something like that. And then she branched out to pop. So maybe she's trying to set records and beat some of Taylor Swift's records in that genre. I don't know. But yeah, just the idea that because she can't do something, then she'll go after it even more. Or if she's told that she's weak in an area. So yeah, I guess that setup for Hot Ones made it perfect.
Yeah, I thought this was fun. Like I don't mind that they brought it back. I saw some people on the Hot Take show in the chat were saying like they would have liked this more if Maya had done one of her other characters on Hot Ones. I thought that was an interesting take. Like, what if she had done like Kamala on Hot Ones or something like that? But to Kirstin's point, I think that it is interesting that she only came back because she needed to slay this one last thing. So at least they worked it into the story. They could have just not left continuity in there, and that would have killed me, which is what they did a couple times last week in the Dua Lipa episode.
And by the way, if she'd come back on Hot Ones as another character, we'd probably, unless it was amazing, we'd probably be saying the same thing. Like, here we go, trotting out Hot Ones because she knows she's good at it. Like, it worked because it was reprised with a story.
Agreed. Kirstin, I'm going to throw it back to you about the sketch that you want us to get into.
I really enjoyed mom sleepovers, the picking the kid up during the sleepovers. It was a pre-tape, but it did some very clever things. One, it, in random order here, one is it really kind of put a bow on this whole Mother's Day thing because it had a really sentimental feeling at the end where you can always call your mom, you can always call your parents, they're going to be there for you, mostly, for most people. This idea that, you can still call home. It also touched on these very complicated relationships that we have with our parents, especially during our teenage years. And it also allowed Maya to do this awesome, I don't know if she was improvising some of those lines, but just to come back to that door again and again with more and more ridiculous and, things that she was saying as excuses to pick up her daughter. But it was all couched in her being tired and exhausted and unimaginative was the perfect vehicle for her to just say and do silly things. One of my favorites being, first of all, JFK Rowling, fly like paper, get high like planes, when she just started quoting MIA.
Yeah, let me play that one, Kirstin, for the audience in case they
please.
forgot that one.
Just the fly like paper, get high like planes.
Like the MIA song?
Yeah. So if you catch her at the border, she got visas in her name. Let's go.
It is so good. Dad, and then of course Dad shows up and he has no imagination. Your house smells weird. She got her period, and the thing with the and you couldn't say it. We are the police here to take our girl to girl jail. And then cicadas, which was just so stupid and amazing. I think if you didn't laugh at that, you're a robot. And then at the end, when she said, because I'm your mother and I'm a bitch. If you watch that again, the way she delivers that line, her voice is so friggin' real. You can tell that it was the most genuine delivery. It was brilliant acting because that's when she was just like, I'm here to take you home. You're going to call me a bitch anyways. You're in your teenage years. Like, it was just a very real moment. And for all of those reasons, I truly, truly enjoyed it.
Here, let's play that line so that the listeners can hear the tone of Maya's voice as she says that.
I'm your mother, and I'm a bitch.
It's almost like Maya as the mom is accepting that she is a bitch when she's saying it. She's like, she's coming around to the fact that she is a bitch, like to like be okay with this.
But here, I don't even know that she thinks she's a bitch. I just think she knows that any teenage daughter is going to say her mom's a bitch, right? Like, she's like, whatever. Listen, my son is 15 and he does not talk. Like, we talk, but like, he will give me one answer. I was away for 3 weeks. I'm like, how's life? He's like, fine. Like, it's just the age.
I've been accused of that before.
Yeah, just the age. And so I'm certain he doesn't call me bad names. He has no reason to right now. But yes, she's like, you know what? I got nothing. You're going to say these things anyways. And it was so good. It was so good.
I love this pre-tape. I thought it was so good. And I think Saturday, I also felt like the response was a little bit tepid towards it from what I gathered. But like on the rewatch, like it affirmed for me that I felt like it was really strong. I love the pacing of the pre-tape. I love that it starts off with the scene that's slow and Maya like in bed, like being woken up in the middle of the night. Like, it's one of those things that like before you're a parent, and I'm not a parent yet, but before you're a parent, you're like, okay, like when my child is going to be out, like you're always asleep, but you're never fully asleep, right? Because you need the phone to be next to you, and that's the type of thing. And I just thought the I think that the love and the relationship between the daughter and mom here, in this case, Maya, it was really, really nice to watch the relationship flourish, which is like, okay, like I'm going to do this for you because, you know, this is what means the most to you. And even though maybe I think you should stay, I'm going to do this for you. So I felt like there was messaging there. And I don't think it was too sentimental, Sean. I thought this was still really funny. Like there was moments here where I felt like, especially as it sped up, especially as you compare the relationship of a daughter to a mother and a daughter to a father, I think there was a lot of, you know, comedic elements at play here.
Absolutely, man. I think, yeah, very strong writing in the sense that, but I didn't count it when I was talking about the overall show because it's a pre-tape and all that. But yeah, absolutely. Like the pattern of you set up the pattern with the 2 calls to mom again, you need to pick, but now we know what's going on. She's calling every time, which is insane that she keeps going. And then 2, that there's like, I think 5 beats after Keenan straight up tells him their house stinks. And they still letting this girl come over their house. I'm like, yo, if homegirl thinks my house stinks, why am I still allowing these sleepovers for this to happen? And why is she still coming? But kids don't make sense, right? But a mom is willing to. I don't think, again, like you guys are saying, I don't think she thinks she's a bit. In fact, she's the opposite because she's willing to seem like one so that the daughter's reputation can be maintained. That's a great parent because somebody that. You don't care how you look when you're older. I mean, to a certain extent, right? There's a little bit of that in neighborhoods, but certainly not as for a parent to know how that feels to a kid, that your reputation matters a lot when you're that age and how you're perceived by your friend group, and to be willing to make my reputation and my friend group look bad is the ultimate sacrifice for somebody in society. So a parent willing to do that is very sweet and sentimental, but yeah, still good writing. Keeping a girl like this, that's so silly. I think that's obviously after the first Keenan beat where he just straight up tells the truth, but that they put on silly mustaches and we take it at a girl jail, and so fun, man. I really enjoyed it.
Because I think, like, as a kid, even if you like sleepovers or like you don't have the anxiety about like wanting to go home, you at least want to know that you can go home if you need to. And I think that that's what this was playing on mostly. It's just like, you know, this is a situation where the daughter wants to go home every time, but it's showing you that like if you need to, like, I'm only a phone call away. And I think that they hit that beat really well. Jack, your thoughts on the Can You Pick Me Up pre-tape?
Yeah, I love when Saturday Night Live just, you know, gets a little sentimental and kind of makes you go aw at the end. And that's what this did for me. I felt like the acting between Maya, we kind of talked about it at the end where, you know, she sort of gave the bitch line, and she was really, you sort of felt like when she was saying it, what she meant. But I also felt like she and Heidi were sort of giving each other glances of like Heidi's character knew like, okay, I know that you're just making up all these excuses to like save face for your daughter, and I would do the same thing for my daughter. I just felt like the acting was so good. And you know, cicadas, I mean, it was just it's just the best part.
Yeah, that was truly the best part here.
And also yeah, so good. I also kind of thought like I had a like, oh, I'm old moment where I was like, oh, parents would know the lyrics to Paper Planes. You know what I mean? Like I don't think my mom would, you know, but like modern parents would know the lyrics to Paper Planes because that was a hit, you know, like
that's an oldie, man. That's an oldie now.
Yeah,
is that an oldie?
Oh God,
that was
old.
Like, this is 2009, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like, my son's 15 and I'm 48. So like I listen to that song a lot. And that's the right age. So that's also true.
I feel like that song like hit me in the right place. Like I feel like in like my time in my life, I feel like when that came out, everyone was like, you know, like
yeah.
2007, Amanda.
Was it 2007? Amanda.
Wow,
so
so that's almost 20 years. When you think about it, because somebody said like Neo's oldies, some guy they did a video. They listened to the Golden Oldie station in their region, and it was. But when I was, you know, a kid, the 90s, the 70s was the oldies, and that's 20 years before. So
now
it's like,
go to 90s parties.
Dang, the old y'all.
Yeah. All right, Jack. Let's hear about the sketch that you want to talk about.
I want to talk about Tip Top Coffee, which was the sketch that I was waiting for all night. I felt like Maya Rudolph, I think, just talks in accents so funny, and the way that she says words. My roommate and I, we always quote the super like the Price is Right sketch where they, the chicken man and all with her and Kristen Wiig. Like, we just say those lines over and over again because they're just so funny, and the way that they say them is just unreal. So I was so happy to see Maya Rudolph doing just an insane accent that you just don't know where it came from. But then it was funny to learn after the fact that this was sort of an ode to Faye Dunaway. A few weeks ago, there was this clip going viral on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter of Faye Dunaway doing a commercial, and she sort of like snaps and says, like, I don't want this person here. So it was an ode to that. And then it was also an ode to these old Lauren Bacall coffee commercials that were from the 80s that people were now bringing up and resurfacing on Instagram and TikTok to sort of see like this was the inspiration for this sketch. But I mean, God, every word that came out of Maya Rudolph's mouth just tickled me to my soul. Calling Heidi Gardner Tandalaya was just so good for me. Are you gonna play it?
No, I was not.
Oh,
sorry.
I thought you were about to play it. Never mind.
I unfortunately didn't pull any sound clips from this sketch, but I still want to hear you. I want to get all your takes on this.
Yeah. But it was the type of sketch that I love, which is silly, stupid, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But like this one character, I mean, Dawn, what was it? Dawn, what was her name? Dawn something.
Dawn Faraway.
Dawn Faraway. I mean, I could see this character coming back and doing another sketch like this because it was just it just felt like such a deeply Maya Rudolph sketch. And I mean, what was the other lines that I love when she said, when she was like, we just have to do it. Like, I feel like that is something I will be saying for the rest of my life now. Whenever I say do it, I'm going to be saying it like how Dawn Faraway does.
I'm so glad this worked for you. It really didn't for me, but we'll talk about why. I'm so sorry. But
oh my God, I've watched it like 5 times.
Really? Okay. I love this. That's so great, guys. We'll get into it, but I do want to bring Sean into the conversation because he's going to have to go in a few minutes. He has a show tonight. So I just want to make sure to get Sean's thoughts on this coffee commercial sketch.
Yeah, you know what? Until I heard Jack speak on it, I was in the John camp. I didn't realize that there was references to some pop culture thing, somebody storming off, and then I had no idea about Lauren Bacall. I thought it was just straight up just a fart joke that didn't escalate. It was my probably least, but it spoke to the silliness of her willingness to get silly and look crazy and look just, I won't say foolish, but yeah, I was like, this is a fart joke. It just can't, it's not escalating to me, except for the only way you escalate it is with the silliness of the fart noises. And they were getting kind of wet, getting kind of crazy. But I'm really, to watch somebody else enjoy it makes it like now I got to rewatch it again and say, oh, okay, there's something to it. I respect I respect Jack's opinion. And John, you might be in the doghouse on this one, man. I think the people online are going to rip you up when you give your take.
That's okay. So. That's okay. Well, Jack, I want to get into it with you. I want to give you my thoughts on it, and we're going to get Kirstin's as well. Yeah. But I just want to thank Sean for joining us tonight. Sincerely appreciate it. Good luck with your show. And can't wait to have you on again soon, Sean. Thanks for all your contributions to the podcast this season. Appreciate you, buddy.
Man. Peace.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, buddy. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep talking about this sketch. So yeah, Kirstin, let me get your thoughts on it, and then I'll sort of break it down with Jack a little bit about why this didn't work for me as much.
I will tell you what I liked about it. Let me do it. So,
okay, go ahead.
I think what I loved about it so much, aside from that wig, and the line, I don't know who let frogs in here, was that, Jack, I feel like, first of all, where are you? Where in North America are you?
I'm in the Detroit area.
You're close to me, kind of.
Cool.
Because I'm in Toronto. Oh. I would sit and just watch Maya read the telephone book in this character.
Yes.
And I think that's what we loved about it. We're like, John, the things you're probably going to criticize is like, there was an escalation, like it didn't really go anywhere. It was just kind of, okay. What Sean was saying is, I don't think Jack and I care. We just want to watch her be this character. And then it doesn't matter what the premise is. Yeah. We just love the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I actually have less problems with the character than I do the sketch itself, if I'm being completely honest. It's because I really think that first of all, it's the second week in a row that we got a sketch that is a topical sketch, and they do a really poor job of explaining that is a topical sketch. So like the Sunny Angels and the Challenger sketch that happened last week, like I got that was that, but it was really like jumbled in terms of it. Whereas I think like a good example of what worked this season was the Timothy Chalamet sketch where they did the one with the Troye Sivan, the dance, like from the new music video. I feel like they really explained like, okay, this is this from this thing. And the truth is like you don't have to do that all the time in SNL sketches. When there's a huge story, especially a political story, I don't need SNL to be like, this happened this week, so we're going to replay those beats, because there's a little bit of like monoculture left in like politics, or left in like Will Smith's Oscar slap, like that type of thing. But when you're getting into like videos that are, specific to a certain social media platform that have gone viral in some sense, I really think you have to do a little bit of base education of like, this is funny because of this. So, I think you lose a lot of the audience. And then I think that like, I try, like, if I'm just going to evaluate the sketch beyond the fact, Jack, that this is something from a viral video, because the sketch has to be funny on its own beyond the fact that it's topical. If I'm following the beat of like, okay, this is a woman who is like really admired as a great actress or actor, and comes in and is having coffee for the first time and is getting like so like jacked up on the coffee that they're overindulging and starting to like let loose and fire people and farting and all that stuff. It just has to like escalate in a way that makes sense. And like, I think that a good example of something that really works was Kristen Wiig's Jamie Lee Curtis when she did the Activia commercials back in the day, where she's like, oh, I really love this yogurt so much that it just like made her poop. I thought that's where this was going. Like, I thought she didn't realize how good, like what the coffee was doing to her. But instead, it just like, almost to me, like if I felt like the sketch could have gone in a straight line, I felt like it went all over the place. And that's where it bothered me as much. And I know I overthink these things, Jack, but for me, I was just really looking for it to like get grounded a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely get that. To me, it was more of just like a send up to like actresses of a certain age who command a room when they walk in, don't really give a flying F whether or not you like them. They like Faye Dunaway knows that she's difficult, right? And I think that this character knows that she is difficult when she does these type of things. But I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed so much of it. I love that it was her first time ever having coffee. The fact that it was like decaffeinated coffee was also making her just like kind of go crazy was really funny to me as well. But maybe it was just more of like the homage to these sort of like older actresses and loving them so much that maybe that's why I loved it. I loved it so much. But and then again, it was just like Maya Rudolph's performance. Just like it was so good. I mean, I don't think she said the script, like the same way twice, which I loved. Her face acting that she was doing, like closing one eye, and like, I mean, I don't know. It was.
Let me ask you something, because it's totally fine. I'm not trying to convince you to see it from my perspective, but what I'll say is like, I think that there has to, for a sketch to completely lose logic, it has to be so ridiculous. And I don't think this sketch is in the categorization of being a extremely ridiculous set, like silly in concept. I think that there still has to be some reality here. So if you just imagine that you are like working the clapper board, like Chloe Trost, or you're, doing her makeup or even the camera work, and you're like all this happening, you would imagine that there's some sort of like pushback to this actress, like this woman. And what's basically happening is like she's commanding a room that she was just invited into. So there's no logic from any of the other characters. Like the whole sketch is from Maya's POV, but there's no reason of why that she's acting this way.
You know what though? See, because I did not know that this was a reference to anything old. I saw this completely without that awareness. Like until you just told me now that there are things on TikTok that this was inspired by. Now I'm going to look them up. I think this type of older actress has such a lack of awareness for those around her, has never been told no. It's like when Paris Hilton said, what do they sell at Walmart? Walls. Like they just, he
She said
doesn't,
that?
yeah. They've been famous their whole lives and coddled and taken care of their whole lives that they'll just fart in front of people, and they are in such a bubble that nothing else matters. So it's kind
But
of
that's a good
interesting.
sketch that you're describing right now. It's a great sketch.
Okay, but that's the whole thing, is that no one reacted because she's in her own world. She is completely in her own. She is oblivious to anyone's feelings being hurt, to the fact that people got fired and probably have like children to support. Like it's just her world and we were living in it. And she was farting around people and she didn't care. She didn't apologize for it. She hadn't
blamed other
tried coffee
people.
because feasibly, you know, Paris Hilton also said, doesn't Diet Coke cost $5 because she's only ever ordered it from room service. So it's this complete world of rarefied air that some of these folks live in, where it is absolutely plausible that she's that ignorant about her actions and how they impact anyone else or how she comes off. She doesn't care. Everyone says she's great. So for that reason, it works.
I also don't really think that it matters that like that video of Faye Dunaway was trending on gay Twitter, right? Like a week ago, and Bowen Yang probably saw it and then wanted to make a sketch like this. I don't really know if that matters, because the second that Maya Rudolph came out and was this character, I knew exactly who she was. I knew exactly where this was going. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I enjoy that kind of culture of like actresses acting poorly and like just being obnoxious. I don't know. Like maybe that just tickles me. But I hadn't seen the video, the Faye Dunaway video, until after the sketch, but I knew that they were making fun of Faye Dunaway just because the name was so similar, right? And like the hair and everything like that. And I had no idea that it was also a reference to these like old Lauren Bacall commercials either. But I agree with you, Kirstin, that it's like that character was so committed, was so, I don't care about anybody else. She didn't even know that she was getting paid $8 million for it. She was like, you're paying me $8 million for this? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess I just love that kind of.
There's a campiness to it that's just really fun.
Yes.
That's fine. And I'm actually like, I think there's a lot of sketches where I see where I actually really enjoy that aspect of it. But I think maybe what this sketch was missing for me, if I could boil it down, is like, what you are both describing is you watching this character from the outside. And I feel like we need somebody on the inside watching this character. There needed to be somebody else in the sketch where we're watching from their eyes and they're reacting to Maya's character. And I think that way, you don't need to explain to the audience that this was trending on gay Twitter, or this was, you know, like whatever, or like whatever, this actress's history or all that. You just get to see the sketch from the people reacting to this woman. And I felt like she got no pushback whatsoever. She was in her own world, and that was fun to see, but she could have still been in her own world while everybody else is acknowledging about how crazy her world is. And I think that's the line that I was missing in this sketch. Okay. Let's
Jack and I are like, our silence means we disagree, but cool.
Yeah.
All right. That's how we know to move on. So
I need like a recording of my room doing that accent, that voice.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Well, I genuinely have to know if I am completely crazy on this. So I brought in my therapist. So Amanda Mitchell is here. Yeah.
This is the best day.
So Amanda stepping in to come join us for a little bit. Amanda, what did you think about the coffee commercial sketch?
Jack, I wouldn't have done this if Jack wasn't here, honestly. I've been listening. I've been sitting in my house listening, and everyone here is correct. Everyone here is right. You all are actually making really, really good points. I understand, especially being here last week and talking about the Challenger sketch and realizing like, oh wait, this sketch is only funny if you've seen Challengers. This is that same level of inside discourse that we've come to love Bowen Yang, and not only Bowen, but Celeste Yim, right? For doing this kind of deeply queer culture. We wouldn't have gotten that opener if we didn't have, like, this was their night to just be, they were like, Maya's here, let's be gay. But I think that I wish it was more of the like, oh, this character just doesn't understand what's going on kind of concept rather than fart jokes. Like, I think that's actually a tighter, funnier joke concept without the body humor. And I think I fall right in the center of where you all are talking about. Also, I was like multitasking at the last, putting on half a face so I could be here. So
Well,
I
thanks for
stopped
doing
paying attention. So yeah, no, it's fine. It's great.
No problem. Well, Amanda, in case you missed it, so we talked a little bit about that coffee commercial sketch. We talked about the Hot One sketch as well as.
Oh, I've
the
been
You Pick
here.
Me Up. Okay, good. So is there a sketch that you want us to talk about while you're here?
I mean, not necessarily because I just got here and didn't have time to think about it. Yeah.
Well, it seemed like the panel really wanted me to talk about this Lenzetti's lawn care sketch, this ad that happened at the end of the episode. And I personally think the second half of this episode was nowhere nearly as strong as the first half, but I will give some points to this lawn care sketch. Did it have to be like a commercial that felt very similar to some of the other sketches in the episode? Probably would have preferred it didn't, but I think the concept is really strong with this couple where the wife previously like cheated on the husband with somebody who worked in lawn care. And then we get, so instead they decide that they're going to open up a business where they hire these like, zeros
Socially
to work for them.
repellent.
Yeah, exactly. And we get to see the different interactions, between Keenan with Chloe and Devin with Sarah, JJ with Heidi, and Andrew Meeks and Michael Longfeld about how them being all hopeless, sexless weirdos. And I think that the concept here is a great concept for a sketch. It didn't go all the way I needed it to, but I think that there's something here that really clicked. So Kirstin, your thoughts on Lenzetti's lawn care?
I got really excited. First, the two things that really excited me. One was just all of the different ways that they were describing the people like socially repellent. They just kept finding more and more inventive ways to paint a picture of who we're going to get. And then when we got them, which I was waiting for, it delivered. Like you saw Andrew with his little weird wig, and his posture, and JJ with, his odd kind of very amazing awkwardness. So just seeing all four of them in those characters and waiting to hear how they would speak and how they would conduct themselves was the highlight for me.
Yeah. And the truth is I feel like everybody knows, like, I don't want to describe them all as hopeless, sexless weirdos, but I think everybody knows like a version of these characters, and like you've seen them and you're like, oh, okay. I guess I can understand why somebody would want them to work in their business, because maybe maybe it's better to have them not be so hot. So Jack, what did you think of this advertisement we got at the end of the night?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I felt like I knew specifically like each of those guys, like I've met that person before. I loved Keenan's character, who just like talks in different ways every single time. Like I was like, oh my God, like I was a summer camp counselor in my, late after in college, and like I had a camper who did that. And I was just like, you don't have to do that. Like you can just
talk in weird voices.
Yeah, like just talks in weird voices, and it's just like, dude, you can just like just talk. You know what I mean? But I felt like it was a defense step, whatever. That's like, neither here nor there. But yeah, I love the specificity, how specific it was to these characters. I just felt like they were so specific, and I knew them. And then the twist of like the couple, cheating at each other and stuff was a nice little payoff at the end. That I wasn't
yeah, I love that. Was my favorite part, because I feel like what really does work for this sketch is like everybody knows somebody who is at least one of these characters or has seen somebody that's one of these characters, and that's where I think these sketches like really work. Is like they become more grounded, and then it's like it makes you want to share the sketch more because you're like, oh yeah, that was like my camper.
Yeah.
So I think, or did you like that one, Amanda?
I did. I also have to say, like, this, I don't know if anyone is watching Vanderpump Rules this season, but this just reminded me of Joe from Vanderpump Rules as like an embodiment of it. Like if you hired her to work for your company, it's like this just felt like what Gen Z people think of millennials. That's what all those characters were to me.
Interesting. Can you elaborate on
Yes.
that? Like just so for people who are
Like
not
the
watching
weird
Vanderpump Rules?
voices, the cringy behavior, the like just the absolutely like the eunuch type behavior, that I spent too much time on Tumblr behavior. Like, you know, we all know these people. The people, the you know, from the Please Don't Destroy pre-tape, that one, that's these guys. That's the sequel.
I feel like so I host trivia once a week at
Oh
a
God,
bar
these are
where
all
I
trivia
live.
people.
Yeah, it felt like very trivia people were. Okay, so sometimes like
Is it like generic trivia, Jack, or it's like about a specific topic?
It's just generic. Although I am hosting a Real Housewives trivia night in a few weeks. If you live in the Detroit area and you love Real Housewives, come and play. Anyway, so sometimes there's a lot of like there'll be like random questions about like Star Wars every once in a while, right? And like I remember one time I mispronounced like Palpatine or Palpatine. I said Palpatine, which I think is the wrong way to say the thing.
Yeah.
And like the people there were like it was almost like they've been waiting for me to mispronounce a nerdy term so that they could yell at me about mispronouncing a nerdy term. And that's what those guys felt like, that if I said Lord Palpatine or whatever the hell it is, that they were like, it's Palpatine, you know. It was giving that energy.
Yes, and I guess you wouldn't conventionally think that type of person would want to work for a landscaping company. So I think that I think that the difference between what you would expect and what you get really works for this sketch.
And the idea too that this company rounded those guys all up. They're like that one of the funny voices, one of the awkward guys. They're like you, and they were like that's their crew.
Yeah, they just went to the back table of my high school and like found all those guys. That's what they wound up being. Like I know. I feel like I know these people really intimately. Not like but it's like I know
Tinder matches.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we should get into that a little bit.
I absolutely went on a date with one of these dudes when I first moved to New York.
Which were they more of a Keenan, a Devin, a JJ, or an Andrew?
A Devin. Just like especially weird. Yeah. Yeah. No, this.
Okay. Perfect. Amanda, you mentioned to me before that you want to talk a little bit about the teacher sketch. So let's
just a little bit. Yeah, sure. This was redundant. It was very redundant. It wasn't the tightest sketch of the night. It could have been cut by a solid like 2 minutes. I just have to say, this season, I would like to give the writers so much props for letting Ego Nwodim just eat. This was. I don't care that this catchphrase of this sketch was y'all won. The catchphrase was sit down. That's what the catchphrase was.
Can I just play that, Amanda, for the listeners, if you don't mind?
Play it on
here
repeat.
we go. So, here we go.
Make it a bop.
TSIDDAHN. That spells sit down.
It's the way she milks that silent T. She milks it you hear every single syllable of that sit down, like every single one. It is a masterclass in her what we've seen like of the past year of watching her just really just elevate herself. Like, but the minute she came on screen, amazing. Also, another shout out I must give is to Punky Johnson's arms. Would just like to give them a solid round of applause. Like, congratulations, Punky Johnson. Do you want to lift me up? Please.
I think, yeah, maybe.
I would love to see it. She's so much smaller than I am, though. It would be hilarious.
Yeah. Let's get, Kirstin, I want to get your thoughts on that sketch. And then I know you usually bring some rapid fire notes as well. So I want to hear what you got.
There were some really funny moments. Yeah, this, I agree. It could have been a bit shorter. And Heidi, I go, absolutely. You're right. This was for, she won this. The comment about cooking a rotisserie chicken in the washroom was pretty funny. They really nailed another ending. The tiny little bumper outro for OnlyFans was hilarious because that was such an amazing social commentary in a 2-second moment that if you blinked, you missed it. But that was one of the smarter jokes that I've seen in a long time, that they just were like, boop. And we were like, right. That's what's so sad about the education system and the poor teachers and what they're dealing with these days, that they're now on OnlyFans to make money because they don't make enough in their salaries.
Can I also just jump in and say that I think that, everyone's talking about sit down, but I think that this is another underrated line from Ego in that sketch.
And there is liquor in this thermos.
It's the thermos. What, like, who told her to say it like that? Liquor in this thermos. Like, is poetry in just Beautiful. The way, the rhythmic of that, the rhythm of there. Wow. I'm gonna also be pronouncing it a thermos for the rest of time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Stray thoughts. Yes.
Yeah.
First of all, Maya's photos were gorgeous. So is it Mary Ellen Matthews? Is that her name?
It is. Yeah.
Holy smoke show. And not just beautiful, but like if you look at some of the Instagram content, like very intentional the way that they were creating different characters for her, but like, whew, Maya. Sit Down was on here. The names of the Hot Ones chilies: Satan's Taint, Sergeant Sphincter's Volcanado, and one was just a picture of a toilet on fire. Dead. Absolutely dead. Keenan's lip quiver when he burned himself, which they just stayed on for like 5 full seconds. And then lastly, a really small one, but when Heidi during Weekend Update said, yeah, I got a response from Mailer Damon, which I burst out laughing at. Is again, sometimes these little moments that get the loudest laughs from me, but that just make this show so magical.
I got to shout out Heidi because I think that she's done characters like this before on Weekend Update. And she's consistently great on Weekend Update as far as I'm concerned. Very high batting average whenever she gets up there. That I don't think she gets the recognition that she deserves on a character like this. And I really feel like this was the highlight from that portion of the show. A woman who says she's not mad. I just really love that she continues to find archetypes of people to make fun of and just does them masterfully.
And the minute they just announced that character type and she came on screen, I was like, I'm in. It was like I was like, I know that this is about to be a career making moment. Like I was like, just that archetype of what we all, because I'm that woman from time to time. So like
you are
this, not always, but like this is very much I was very proud of her, and it was a very strong Weekend Update, which is hard for me to say.
I just loved watching her want to get out of the chair, but then not, and the way she was moving her arms and moving her body, it was awesome.
I love that she like lost a shirt over the Weekend Update desk, and she was just like, and I just lost my shirt. And like that type of thing. And truly, like I think this was written really well. Like the fact that we find out the whole reason she's mad is because she thought she was going to host the show that night. Like it was built, like there was a meta-ness to this character, but not enough that not too much that it took away from the character. So really just fantastic for Heidi there. Jack, what about you? Any stray thoughts from the episode you want to talk about?
I really just now that we're talking about Weekend Update, I really enjoyed Weekend Update this week. I thought Sarah Sherman playing RFK's Brainworm was genius and so fun. Also like a big night for whoever was running like sound effects because the constant slurping was so funny, and then the farting obviously too. So whoever was doing sound effects that night, you killed it. But yeah, I just love that like whenever Sarah Sherman comes on, like no matter what character she's playing, like that character is hating on Colin Jost, and it's just like I don't know, it makes me so happy. The line about God, what was it? Oh, it's the same face you make when you're yelling at college protesters. Like that was so good. And just some of the jokes that Jost and Che were saying, the Kim Kardashian and Ray J joke audibly made me gasp.
I was like, I haven't laughed at a Kim Kardashian Ray J joke in so long, and it hit me right where I needed it to hit. I was like, oh, that's brilliant.
I could not believe they said that. Like Colin Jost was like, I think I heard someone like scream, and I was like, yeah, that was me at home. But yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head any more of the jokes, but I don't know, it just felt like they were like slightly unhinged. I don't know, it was a good night for them. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll say I think that one of the moments back to that teacher sketch for a second that I just want to bring up as a stray thought was as I'm like going into my deeper into my 30s. I mean, I just turned 30, but as I'm going to be 31 in the summer, and as I continue to get older, I like it when SNL teaches me things. So over the weekend, I was able to understand a little bit more about these new words.
Rizzler, Gia, Cheeks, Phantom Tax.
I need somebody to teach me. So, so thank you, SNL. Was able to do that. So, yeah, I thought that we covered most of the show, and there were some really fun moments here. I want to talk about MVPs from the week. So, a lot of people were really excited to get to see all the moms on SNL. Maya, obviously coming back, is a big candidate for the MVP voting for the week. Let me go through the statistics from the cast members because, due to the fact that we had a lot of ensemble sketches, cast members just appearing, one after another in a sketch, some really high numbers for the cast members this week in sketches. So, Chloe Fineman did something on the show this week that hasn't been done in 4 years, which is she was in 9 separate SNL segments this week. It's pretty difficult to do 9. I think that the record is 12, if I remember correctly. It's only happened a couple of times, but it's her first time ever getting to 9 sketches in an episode. It's really hard to do that in modern days, right? As well, but 9 sketches and 2 voiceovers for Chloe Fineman all over this episode. Also 7 sketches for Keenan, Mikey, and Sarah in this episode. 6 sketches for Heidi, 5 for Ego, Bowen, and Andrew, and JAJ, 4 for Punky. So no main player in the cast got less than 4 sketches here. Colin Jost in 2 moments of the night, where being in the cold open and weekend update. Chloe Trost, who was shut out last week, also got 4 sketches. 3 sketches for Marcelo, Molly, Michael Longfellow, and Devin Walker. So really everybody got involved in the show. Way more than we're used to. So all of the stats got boosted this week. I'm so curious from you guys who you think the MVP was from the week. Kirstin, do you have a choice for the top 3 MVP vote getters from week number 19?
Maya, Ego, and I'm struggling with the third. Mikey was in quite a bit and memorable. Heidi also. This is a tough one. I was hoping you wouldn't come to me first. Maya, Ego, Mikey, doing it. There you go.
All right, Amanda jumping in here. Do you have a pick for some MVP voting from the week?
I would love it to give to Miss Maya Rudolph, of course, because this was her evening. Maya, Ego, and Keenan, for sure.
Yeah, Keenan had a good week. I mean, you expected Keenan and Maya being back together. That makes sense. Jack, what about you?
Yeah, my number 1 is Maya. My number 2 is Ego. My number 3 is Sarah Schneider. And then I just want to give an honorable mention to Vampire Weekend. I thought they sounded so good.
So good.
I thought the song choices that I'm like really into the new album, but like the song choices they did. And I always have like a thing for like bands not really sounding super well on Saturday Night Live. And I just thought their mix, it was really great.
But it was a little weird that he looked right in the camera, no?
Yeah, it was, but it was kind of on theme for the episode now that I think about it.
You got the memo?
Yeah.
Yes, we are only doing things in this episode that are direct to camera. So let me bring up the MVP voting for week number 19 of season 49. And here we go. Maya Rudolph, 44% of the vote. Kenan Thompson, 14% of the vote. JAJ, 12% of the vote. I think people really liked JAJ in that caveman sketch that we didn't talk about. He really anchored that one and brought it to where it needed to get. So 12% for JAJ. Mikey Day, 8% of the vote here. And then some version or variation of the SNL moms came in with 6% of the vote. Ego was in 6th. I know you all said Ego as well. But really an episode full of mothers and just a wonderful, memorable Mother's Day episode that we got to talk about this week. Okay, finally ready to turn the page to the finale of season 49, believe it or not, with host Pedro Pascal. No, it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal is coming in to host for his 3rd time. He previously hosted in season 47, so we got to talk about that one a couple of years ago, and then hosted all the way back in 2007, and that would be season 32 as well. So let's talk about that. Gyllenhaal, Carpenter together. Kirstin, your thoughts?
I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I'm excited to see him. He's one of those actors and people that I don't know who he is. He's not someone who is really on social that I know of. I feel like I don't know him. Now, in his case, that gets me really excited because I don't know what to expect. And as people who will watch this show as we do and dissect it and talk about it, when someone comes on who we feel is going to be exciting and do cool stuff, but we don't know what they're going to do, is really exciting for me personally. So I hope there's some zany shit. I hope there's a little bit of, singing or something else, because he's done a little bit of that. I am very much looking forward to it. I feel like he won't disappoint. And I do enjoy that as we close out this season, they've brought in some real heavy hitters, some real sure shots. So I'm excited.
Yeah, the last 2 times he's hosted for his monologue, he's sung and he's had the women of SNL in red dresses singing with him. So there's been a little bit of a theme there. But it is the finale this time, Jack. So any expectations of what we may see on Saturday?
I kind of hope that Jake Gyllenhaal's down to get weird, because what makes me think this is because of the John Mulaney Netflix special, the children's thing or whatever, and Jake Gyllenhaal showed up in that, and he got really, really weird, and it was really, really funny. And so I know that he is down to clown in that way. So I'm hoping that he's going into this, whatever they pitch, however strange it is, I hope that Jake Gyllenhaal is down to do whatever. And I hope that the writers also come up with some just weird, silly things. I'm also just really excited for Sabrina Carpenter. I think this is going to be a huge moment for her career. Espresso is my song of the summer, and I'm shocked that she's actually doing it, the finale. But I think this will be a big moment for a future bigger pop star.
Yeah, so I'm not the right person to talk about this, but there is a Jake Gyllenhaal, Sabrina Carpenter connection through.
Yeah, because I'm not a Swiftie, but I just want to say that. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal is an ex of Taylor Swift, and Sabrina Carpenter opened up on the Eras tour for Taylor Swift. So some people were sort of saying oh, will there be some sort of bad blood? No pun intended. I don't think so. I think I don't know. I don't really care about Taylor Swift, and I think that Jake Gyllenhaal is kind of above it all. But yeah,
Amanda, what do you think about all this?
I'm mad Jack took my point. I am a lover of Jacob Gyllenhaal. I've loved him for a very long time. I think he is one of the most unhinged actors working to this day. He loves to be insane on he's gone from being a sporty little action movie guy to being an actor's actor. I fully commit. Nightcrawler, what? That man is, and I feel now that we're in this era of his career, he just remade Roadhouse. Who does that? No one asked for a Roadhouse remake, but Jake Gyllenhaal gave it to us, and from what I've heard,
nobody really asked him to host the finale, but he's doing it.
True.
Pedro Pascal didn't want it, so. But I think Jake Gyllenhaal will. My only wish is that they would bring Julio Torres back for Jake Gyllenhaal, because I believe they never overlapped in terms of writing, and I think Julio Torres is probably one of the few people who can write the perfect level of unhinged that Jack and I want to see for someone like Ryan Gosling. Or even, there's plenty of options out there, but I hope that they write him something that reminds people that he does have some kind of, you could be a serious actor, but still have great comedic timing. And I have a feeling that this is going to be like this. I am thrilled to see Miss Sabrina on my television screen. I saw her live last year, so I feel like I have been ahead of the course of my 4'11" princess. But I'm excited. Will I watch it live? Probably not. But I'll be at my friend's birthday party all the way uptown. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna be tired. But yeah, friends. But
well, we encourage everybody else to watch it live.
Please go watch it live and watch the hot take show afterwards. I will not be there.
But we're happy to hear from you. And also, is it Nonsense, the song where she will change the lyrics pretty often? Because I'd be curious, if there's going to be some sort of meta SNL or maybe even Taylor.
She probably will.
There.
She'll do some change thing, cute thing. I love her.
Yeah, that'll be really fun to watch on Saturday. So obviously, you know, like Amanda said, we'll be there for the hot take show and the roundtable and everything to cover the finale next week. But we still got more shows this week to talk about Maya Rudolph and Vampire Weekend. So please join us on Wednesday night. I have some great news that Mike Murray will be back to anchor that show on Wednesday. So he's all good. Baby's all good as well. So he's going to be back to host that show on Wednesday night. He'll be with Rachel Chang and Bill Kenny for that show. So they'll go through all the statistics from the weekend. I'm sure there's a lot of Serene Time stuff to talk about given this very unique, statistical episode. I think they'll have a blast on Wednesday. On Thursday, we will post our patron show. So tomorrow I'll post a poll. You let us know about the sketch you want us to dive into even further. So that's the patron exclusive sketch breakdown. And then of course we have everything from the finale. We'll have all of the postseason coverage coming up. So we'll do our postseason roundtable and by the numbers and feedback show, all of that. And we'll also announce our summer plans. So on Saturday night on the Hot Take Show, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about what we're doing over the summer. We got a lot of fun things planned.
I guess I do have to listen now.
Oh no, so sorry, but we'll talk through all of that. So there's a lot of things that are really exciting coming up here, including for SNL. I know they just had their upfronts today, so I believe that Heidi Gardner and Bowen Yang and Keena Thompson were at the NBC upfronts promoting the 50th season of Saturday Night Live, which will be jam-packed full of specials and celebrations of the 50th anniversary, culminating in the 3-hour special on February 16th, 2025. Of course, we will be right alongside Saturday Night Live as they celebrate the 50th season and the anniversary of the show, covering everything as they go through that. So I hope you join us throughout this journey over the next year and change as we break down everything from the 50th season of the show. So really looking forward to all of that. Kirstin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What a blast. Appreciate you as always for all your contributions all season long. Please tell the listeners where they can check us out.
Thank you, John. Yes, if you are in the Toronto area, please check out generationwomen.ca. It's an intergenerational storytelling event that we do seasonally.
Absolutely. Jack, what a pleasure, seriously, to get to hear your thoughts on the show tonight. Thank you for joining us. Anything you'd like to plug?
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jack Roskopp. And if you live in the greater Detroit area, you can find, I write and I work for clickondetroit.com. I'm sometimes on their morning show called Live in the D at the local news. So yeah, you can find me there.
Thank you so much. And Amanda, making a cameo appearance tonight. Appreciate it. Anything you'd like to plug?
I can't believe of the 4 Mondays that are in May, I'm going to be spending 3 of them with you, first of all.
Thank you.
Which is really wild. Yes, I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Like I said last time, I'll see you guys at the end of the month for the season roundup. But if you like me, just go Google my name or go on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, and it's at Loch Ness Manda, like the scary Scottish monster. And I love you all. Thank you for letting me just drop in here. I was in the chat and then I was here. I feel like I blacked out. Like I went through a portal. I don't know how I got here.
The best surprise.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So happy to have you on with us. And yeah, Google our podcast because you could find all the social media platforms where you get to follow us to see Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. We got to post a lot of stuff. We still have more things to post from the Maya week. We're going to be posting a lot of finale stuff. We'll be putting up polls from the season asking you what your favorite sketches were and all that stuff. And we'll include those polls in our podcast coverage as we wrap up season 49. You can also subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify to get notified when we get live or when we go live for anything that we're doing. So
do it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah. First you got to
Sit down.
and then do it. So on behalf of Kirstin, Jack, Sean Grant joining us tonight, and Amanda Mitchell, and everybody in the chat on this Monday night, my name is Jon Schneider from the SNN. Want to thank our presenting partner for the show, LateNighter.com, and we will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.